So, welcome everyone. I'm Faizi Khan, the founder of Khayalo Ki Udaan, and today we have a very special guest with us. So, he's a director, he has been into football, he has been a football player, and he has done filmmaking, and like he has been an epitome of excellence in so many fields, so wearing so many hats all together. So, we welcome Aman Pratap Adhikary from Nepal.
Hi, thank you, Faizi. Thank you so much.
It's so nice to have you here in our podcast, and it will be so much beneficial to the people out here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If I could be some inspiration or some help, that would be great.
Cool, cool. So, first of all, I want to know how was your childhood? I mean, you have been wearing so many hats all together. So, I wanted to check how was the childhood, and when did you find your calling?
All right. Well, I believe my childhood was a lucky one, I would say. If I have to describe in one word, I would say a lucky one.
Mhm.
Obviously, I grew up in Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal, right?
Mhm.
And that time, Kathmandu was not that polluted. And what I need to tell you guys is like I'm 49 years old, right? So, so the time I grew up in Kathmandu,
Mhm.
we swam in the river Bagmati. Nowadays, it's not possible to swim in that particular river because of the dirt and dust and many things, right? But I grew up swimming in the river and learning how to swim in the river itself. So we grew up like that. So we grew up fishing in the river, swimming in the river, running in all the fields, and like havocing our neighbors by like just doing those little mischief things. So just laughter, fun, and wherever we found a small piece of field, we would just take our football. If we did not have a football, we would put those newspapers in our socks, make it look like a football, then would play in that field. We had that fairy tale childhood. I had that fairy tale childhood.
Lovely. So, any incident from the childhood that that felt like that it was your calling, or you wanted to change something in the world?
Right. Um, 1985, 86. Well, 1986 was the year when Nepal television started, right?
Mm.
So before that, only few households had television, only very few. And I was lucky enough to have a television set in my house around, I think, 1984.
Mm.
Right. So we at that time we used to watch Doordarshan. That was the only channel that came into television, and whatever came in Doordarshan, and when in 1985, 86, when Nepal television started, I somehow fell in love with that idiot box. Just fell in love with that.
Wow.
Uh, my regular life was just football, 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 play football wherever. Even before studies, it was just football, right? All I wanted to become was a national football player. That was my dream. And so when television came into my house, now I fall in love with this particular idiot box. So whatever came on TV, I
Mm.
was so engrossed, like I would sit in front of the TV because uh, at those times we did not have 24 hours of television, so it was just few hours of television, right? So just before a scheduled program, let's say from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, the television would start at 6 and end at 10, right? So I would start sitting in front of television around 5:45, and they would have just the color bar on the television with the tune with tune, right? So I would just sit and watch the color, those seven rainbow colors, and wait for the program to start. So I somehow just connected with the television, and somehow maybe that connection led me to where I am right now. I think it started maybe when I was 12, 13 at that time. So it started, the connection started from there.
Wow. Wow. Very nice. So, you have been, you studied in Saint Xavier School, Kathmandu, and then you went to
Yes.
Edinburgh College in Edinburgh. So how was
No, that's
whole
a two different
transition?
stories. That's
Yeah.
sorry.
So how was this whole transition from Kathmandu to Edinburgh?
Okay. So kind of like I've been another part that I've been lucky enough is like I got to spend the college life in
Hmm.
two different separate time frame of my life. So at so I finished schooling in St. Javier's, Kathmandu. Then did my 11. We had to go to 11 and 12 in different college that I did. Then I was in Delhi University to do my bachelor's. Right.
Hmm.
So doing bachelor's in Delhi University, I got through sports quota through football quota. So at that time I was 19. Right.
Hmm.
So I did bachelor's in philosophy. Then I came back to Nepal, did my master's in sociology.
Hmm.
Then after a few years of working, when I was doing master's in sociology, the television thing actually happened to me. So
Hmm.
I got a job in the only television channel in Nepal was the national channel, that was Nepal Television,
Hmm.
right? So I got the job there as a football analyst, as a football presenter, researcher, writer, and I was the first football commentator of Nepal.
Wow.
Right. So that happened in 1999. That was the eighth SAF Games that was held in Kathmandu, and
Hmm.
I was the football commentator at that time, and I was the only one doing that particular thing. Right. So that when that particular phase ended, when I finished my master's in sociology, I worked in television for nearly 7 years. Then after 7 years of working in television, I realized that if I want to do further in television or film, then I better, because sociology was not going to work in television at all. So I had to have the technical know-how of not just being a presenter, but how to make the program.
Hmm.
So then at the age of 29, I decided to go to Edinburgh to study filmmaking and television.
Hmm. Nice, nice. So you
Mm.
have
But
been many
when,
journeys altogether.
so yeah, one whole of a journey. And another thing was like, because I was married around 20, when I was 23, I was already married. So when I went to Edinburgh, I already had two kids.
Whoa.
So raising up, then earning money was already a big responsibility. Now I had a dream to go study, then come back and do more. So that put so much pressure in my head because I had to earn living for my kids, their school fees and this and that and everything. Then pursue my career, then pursue my studies first.
Hmm.
Then only my career came. So that those when I was 29, 20, 29, 30, 31, 32, that particular years was like the hardest of my life.
Hmm. Um, when you talk about the hardest part when you went through all
Mhm.
this, so what were the peak things that were faced by you in that time?
You see, so I'm living in this one of the most expensive cities in the world. It's Edinburgh. It's an art city. It's a culture city, and
Hmm.
everything is so bloody expensive.
Hmm.
And then I have to do my part-time job, then try to find another part-time job so that I can pay my rent, I can pay my college fees,
Hmm.
then I can send money to my kids and family so that they can have a peaceful life as well.
Hmm.
Right. So balancing everything was a chaos because I was studying filmmaking, and while studying filmmaking, it's not just about going to the university and coming back to your apartment. It's about, because we get so many let's say uh, particular appointments where we have to go outside the city sometimes for shooting this kind of thing, then go to another city to uh, do a recce about a certain let's say a shop where we are going to shoot next week. So we are just going back and forth. It's
Hmm.
not just about going to the college and coming back. So to balance my work and studies and family back home in Nepal, it really was chaotic. But because I went there to study something that I loved, then it all my mind was at peace because I was learning something that I love.
Hmm. And as this whole phase was going on, so how did you balance this the part of the artist the adventure part of yours, and the responsibilities of home. I mean, balancing these three factors all together.
Yeah, well, at that particular time, I'm a guy who likes to travel and see different adventures. I am a very adventurous person. So whenever I got time, just few days or weeks of time in Scotland, I used to just go. We had bunch of friends. We used to go to Highlands. That's the if you go to Scotland, obviously you go through Highlands and watch the scenarios, Loch Ness or anything like that. Those kind of things kind of like get me on my toes, but not as happy as I would have been back home in Nepal. And whenever I got a chance, if I got a month's free in a year, I would directly come back to Nepal and give time to my kids. So that was the bonding of me and my kids. So 1 month in those 6 years, I would come back home and spend time with them. So I was trying to balance that, but it surely was not as good as or as perfect as I would have wanted.
Uh, okay, okay. And like, yeah, I'm loving this conversation a lot. I mean, so much to learn out of it. I mean, for all the people who try to balance so many things together, they have dreams, they have family, they have a vision, and how to balance it out and not forgetting the artist inside. Really, really nice.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you have been chief executive producer and the director of Ainna and director of Himalaya Roadies and director of KBC
Yes.
and so many stuff. So, there would have been a lot of stages. So, when it comes to the 12 stages of a hero, so starting from the
Mhm.
normal world and then back again, back like getting it to the normal world, completing the loop.
Okay.
So,
Uh-huh.
where you thought you have reached till now? Which
Well,
stage are you on, or you have completed
if,
the
no, I've not completed. I'm not completed because I'm a guy who looks for next adventure.
hmm,
Always,
hmm,
always looks for something new. So my journey, if I go through those different stages,
hmm,
I somehow find myself in between 7, 8
hmm,
towards approach to the inmost cave and ordeal, right?
hmm,
So
yeah,
because uh, when I finished my filmmaking and television studies, came back here, then got opportunity. I started. There was a program called Kripa Unplugged, which was very similar to MTV Unplugged, and
hmm,
nobody in Nepal had went to Europe or any bigger countries to study television production, how it's done at all. Nobody had that particular knowledge, so
hmm,
everybody was just watching Indian television and. Just watching it, and they were trying to grasp how it's done, but you don't get to know how it's done when you by just watching TV, right? So I started getting different challenges in my life. So first I the MTV Unplugged, then I made it in a Nepal. It was called Kripa Unplugged because I knew the technicality and know-how of how to make it. Then came Roadies because India had already reached 14 seasons.
hmm,
Nepal just wanted to try first season, and they sent me to Mumbai. One of the channels is called Himalaya TV, so they sent me to Mumbai to get all the deals done and to learn how it's done in India. Then I spent a week in Mumbai, then came back over and did 3 seasons of Roadies in Nepal. That's Himalaya Roadies. So
wow,
after that, then again came a challenge of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That's Kaun Banega Karodpati. So from an adventure, from music to adventure, then came a game show called one of the biggest game show in Nepal, in the world. It's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So
hmm,
then I did that. Then again, one of the biggest channel was Amir Khan's Satyameva Jayate. Making
hmm,
that in Nepal, it was called Ainna, and that
hmm,
was another biggest challenge. So
hmm,
every challenge, I've like jumped from one challenge to another challenge. Then I get, okay, this is done. I need another challenge. Then I go and challenge myself to do another thing. So now I've challenged myself to do something that's not been done in many parts of the world. It's
hmm,
something, a poetry reality show, right? So now I believe I'm somehow in between 7 and 8. It's like I'm in the inmost cave where I fear that what I've earned till now, if I
hmm,
don't do this particular the poet idol perfectly, I might lose everything. That fear is in me, right? So I have to do it to the perfection that's in there.
mm,
then I'm like in a journey where if I do it perfectly, will I slow down in my life and go back to the ordinary myself, or go back to the ordinary life? Then
mm.
I'm thinking like that as well. So this poet ideal right now, what's happening in my life, is the biggest thing, the biggest challenge for me right now until yet that I've faced.
Wow, wow. This is like you keep on taking so many risks. So
I do.
when we talk about the risks, so you take so many risks. So what is the inspiration behind taking so many risks?
Well, maybe it's from where we started our conversation. It's from the childhood.
Yeah.
So whenever something came up, I was a brilliant footballer when I was a small kid. And whenever a new tournament comes up, or a new challenge, or a different thing comes up, I would just first jump into it.
Mm,
Somehow it just pulled me in. And when I do that 5 times, 10 times, 15 times,
mm,
I was done with it. I wanted something new to try on, so that I started from ground zero. So, for example, when making Himalaya Roadies, so how franchise works is, so we bought the franchise rights from Viacom 18 for season one. They
mm,
gave us near about, okay, can you try near about season seven, season eight structure of MTV Roadies? So I checked out,
mm,
they sent me the Bible, I checked all the visuals. Then I made somehow similar to that.
mm,
Then I asked them, that was the time when Ran Vijay and Raghu Rajiv was there. So
mm,
that was the style we did first in the season one. Then I
mm,
asked them for, can I have the newest season's Bible, where you
mm,
have four gang leaders and a different style? They
mm.
said, no, no, no. You still need to prove to us technically. You will just have to follow your season one and make a better season two. So while making season two, because I was making a similar season one, I was already bored because
Mm.
there was nothing new. So I was already bored. So the only thing that I was doing was making a better technical quality, better than the season one. That was all I did. Then in season three, they finally gave me the gang leader style, which is right now relevant in MTV Roadies as well. Now that was a new challenge for me. So then that particular season, I started from ground zero and made it really as good as I could possible. So it was a big hit. So then my mind was done. I'm done with roadies. Like, okay, this is one part of my life. It's done and
Mm,
dusted.
mm.
Now I look for another challenge where I can start from ground zero again.
Wow. Really, really
So
nice. And I mean, so much to learn out of it, like your risk-taking capacity and this whole habits. So when we talk about the habit, so how does your routine looks like?
ooh, routine is very hectic, very hectic.
Mhm.
I do not have a scheduled life at all. There's no
Okay.
schedule at all. So um, if I say I'm a late night person, so I'm obviously I'm a football lover. My first love is football. So
Mm,
whenever I go home late. I watch the matches till like 12:45, 1:45, midnight,
mm,
then only go to sleep. So I wake up on the morning, and uh, nowadays I've joined, because though football I would have loved to continue
mm,
physically,
mm,
it's a little bit competitive for me right now. So
mm,
I've joined badminton, so just to keep me going, running and this and that, a little bit of healthy.
mm,
But from then onwards, my day, if I finish badminton by 8 p.m. or 9 p.m.,
mm.
after that, the whole hours till maybe 10 o'clock midnight or anything, it
Mm,
just work, work and work.
mm.
So maybe because I'm working on a field that I love, I don't feel like I'm working. I'm meeting people, I'm doing this, I'm doing another project, I'm doing that. And so it just, and in the meeting, if I even say, okay, let's have a beer in the meeting in the evening, even that particular beer meeting happens to be some kind of work and brainstorming. So it just
Ah,
work and work and work for me.
nice. And it looks like you really read a lot. You have read a lot. So which are the books that
Yes.
you read a lot or you're reading at the moment?
Usually we try to read mostly the Nepali stuff,
Hmm.
obviously, the Nepali books, right?
Hmm.
And the every book that is written, I read all these
Hmm.
books, right?
Hmm.
And mm, uh, Nepali writer that I love to read is a guy called Buddhi Sagar. So
Hmm.
I love to read his book. He's one of his books, Karnali Blues, has been translated into English and many other languages as well. So I do mix up Nepali and English. So sometimes Nepali, sometimes English, but I try to find time. I would have loved if I had more time to read books, but nowadays so engrossed in just work. And work is what happens is like, because let's say the project that I'm doing right now, the Poet Idol, because it's happening for the first time. So we're sitting down and writing the Bible of the program every day. We're changing structures and we're writing it ourselves. So that's a reading habit as well, not just the books. So whatever I find, I read.
Nice. Very interesting. And yeah, I have this interesting question. So, as you have so many
Mhm.
brainchilds, like you got Ainna and then Himalaya Roadies and KBC and now the Poet Idol. So, which is
Yeah.
your favorite brainchild?
The closest to my heart is the project that I'm doing right now. It's the Poet Idol, because it's dedicated to my father.
Hmm.
He's Chhatrapati Adhikary. He is Chhatrapati Adhikary of Nepal. Well, this guy, my father, he was born in a very remote village
Hmm.
somewhere very far away, and he came to the capital when he was 14 years old, and he had to walk 4 days, 4 nights just to reach here, because he did not have money for any traveling. Or at that particular time, he had to walk through jungles and hills to come
Oh.
over to the city. So, and then he built up to become one of the biggest writers of Nepal, poems and songs usually. And
Hmm.
then he went on to become the education minister of the country. So he is a very inspirational figure to all of us, the whole country.
Hmm.
So this particular program, I wanted to dedicate it to him, because what he wanted in life was, uh, see, making a living by just being a poet, or just a novelist, or just a storyteller or story writer. It is still now, till now, it's very difficult,
Hmm.
especially in Nepal. So you have to have one proper job, then your hobby becomes writing. You
Hmm.
don't make a living by making just writing. So
Hmm.
my father wanted to make a scenario, maybe through government publishing houses, or different private publishing houses, so that it encourages those writers to publish books and people buy those books, or do a storytelling concert or a poetry concert, so that people buy tickets, and then these writers can make a good living. That's what my father wanted. And that particular dream, I wanted to continue through this, the Poet Idol. So if my winner, or the guy who are like already in top 14 of Poet Idol, can go on to make a living by just doing a poetry concert, then
Hmm.
all the dream will come true.
Wow. Really, really nice. Now I get to know why this brainchild is the closest to your heart.
Yes.
And there are so many memories that we keep in our heart. So, which is
Mhm.
that memory of you and your father that you really want to
Hmm.
keep in your heart always? Maybe if we talk about the life anchors, so which are
Hmm.
those memories?
Uh, the good ones that I
Yeah.
have is like, not related to poetry and something, but because my father was one of the biggest writers, so
Hmm.
he was friends with, if Lata Mangeshkar ji is the biggest singer in India, Indian history singing, right?
Hmm.
So Narayan Gopal is the biggest singer in the history of Nepal. Okay, so um, so my father was, and Narayan Gopal uncle was like really good friends. So he's sung few songs from of my father as well. So they were like buddies, and so one day, like it was just I was a small kid, and we just had a radio on our house, because at that time even television had not arrived in
Hmm.
Nepal.
Hmm.
So one day, my father, just on a Saturday, so he tells me, so you wanna, like, there was a big football match going on in the stadium in Kathmandu. He asked me, "Do you want to go and watch?" And I said, "Obviously, yes, I want to go." And he said,
Hmm.
"Okay, get into the back seat of the car." And I said, sat down on the back. I said, "Why can't I sit in the front?" And I said, "No, no, no, we're gonna pick up my friend." I said, "Okay." So then he rode, and he picked up Narayan Gopal uncle. Right,
Hmm.
Narayan Gopal uncle is a super famous guy because he's the singer of Nepal. So they both are chatting. Then I said, "Okay, I'm watching football with Narayan Gopal uncle." Yes, right. So
Hmm.
we reach the stadium. Then so we also call it mumfali. We buy some mumfali, sit in the
Hmm.
sun, and sat down, and the match starts going on. So because at that time, because television is not there, very few newspapers, so nobody knew the guy sitting with me and my father is Narayan Gopal,
Hmm.
right? Because the in the accent he speaks and in the accent he sings is very different. So
Hmm.
nobody kind of like even guess that particular guy is Narayan Gopal. And what happens is Narayan Gopal was so notorious
Hmm.
that whenever a player was making a mistake in the game, he
Hmm.
would stand up and yell right in the face. He would shout so madly,
Ah.
everybody around us would like look back at us. I'm like embarrassed, right? This guy is like shouting, and he would sometimes shout foul words, right? Foul words in Nepali, and he's shouting mad at the players. And but nobody knew that it was Narayan Gopal. That was the beauty part. So that particular incident was somehow funny as well. And getting to watch football with my father and Narayan Gopal together,
Hmm.
those, a singer and a poet watching a football match, that's a mixture of all those things. It's always has been in my mind. It's always has been in my mind.
Superb, superb. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, like as we know you as like a powerhouse of energy, doing so many adventures and introducing so many brainchilds into the world. So
Mhm.
we love your energetic character. So
Thank you.
how does Aman likes his own character? If you look at your own character as a person from a faraway point, from an observer point of view, so what do you think this? How do you like Aman?
Wow.
What kind of person Aman is, and what do you think?
Uh, many those who have seen me on television and those who have seen how I handled Roadies, because Roadies
Hmm.
was one of the biggest and toughest program to make,
Hmm.
they somehow felt, and wow. And another thing that I need to tell you guys is like the Roadies had behind the scene program,
Hmm.
and the obviously we had the group of near about 127 crew members. We walked together for 2 months, from
Hmm.
schedule one to day last. So we were all together. Every day would be chaos, and I would be controlling everything. I'm this perfectionist kind of guy, who have to make things happen. I have that particular character. I would
Hmm.
shout at people and everything. Then they kind of like in behind the when the behind the scene program came from that particular group, I saw that they had put Aman Pratap Adhikary, then Dawn director, right? So and I was like, oh my god, they put the name Dawn in there. Now is it gonna make a difficult kind of like negative impact to the audience? But
Hmm.
actually the audience loved it,
Hmm.
because it was so they could see that it was so hard to control and I was controlling it. So
Hmm.
the word Dawn director has been there since then, and everybody knows me as Dawn director right now. So this particular image of a Dawn director the name itself might come a little bit scary, but I am a very friendly guy, super friendly guy. I love to mingle with people, but very less people. Those people with very positive attitude. Um, I always, if I see water just half filled in a glass, I always see it as half filled and not half empty. I'm that positive a guy. right? So I try to meet those kind of people with positivity in life. So if I look it from far away, if I look at what I've achieved at work,
Hmm.
I would believe that yes, I have made it. I
Hmm.
have made it.
Hmm.
That I should be satisfied with the results of my work. I should be satisfied. If I ask myself, do I want to do more? Yes, definitely. I do want to do more, and I don't want to let go of this particular energy that I have. I just want to keep on going till the end. So this is how I see myself. I just want to keep on going.
Lovely, lovely. So, thank you so much for sharing so many insights. And in the end, I would
Mhm.
like, if you want to give a message to our viewers and the listeners.
Okay. Okay. So there's always a fear, right? There's always a fear. Everyone has a certain kind of setback, certain kind of fear of to do, or you're like confused, do it or not, or something like that. I
Hmm.
have a big fear of height, right?
Hmm.
And anxiety as well,
Hmm.
anxiety and height.
Hmm.
So I have this crazy habit of challenging myself in that as well.
Hmm.
And till now, I have done bungee jumping for 17 times.
Wow.
Okay. So uh, I have the fear of height, I have the fear of anxiety, but still I go to that particular bridge every year. Then I
Hmm.
jump. When I
Lovely.
jump and when I come back, I feel I've like crushed my fear
Hmm.
for a certain time, right? That fear will still creep in, those anxiety will still slowly creep in, but
Hmm.
again next year I again go and jump. So just to kill my fear, just to be on the top, so that I can keep on going, so I can keep on doing.
Wow. Really, really inspiring. I mean, like, I think I myself will listen to this interview so many times before my team posts that. So much to learn.
uh,
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, because we know your time really means a lot. I mean, your whole schedule is so packed, so it meant a lot for us. And we wish you all the very best for your all the upcoming projects, and especially your closest brainchild, the poet idol. So hope
okay,
it reaches the heights, and the heights that you imagined, and even more than that. So sky is the limit. Even sky is not the limit
thank you
for
so
you.
much.
Looks like.
Sky is not the limit at all. Thank you so much, Faiji. Thank you so much, Faiji. I could share some of the things. Many of the things have just been going. Whatever I said or whatever I did, it just went inside Nepal. Now, finally, I have a friend who is in India and who still believes that I've done something. Then yes, thank you so much, Faiji. Now this will inspire me to do more. So thank you
Lovely.
guys as well.
Thank you so much. And all the very best again.
Thank you. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.